Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
Hey, this is Charlie from Crescent Ballroom, Stateside Present, and the new Van Buren Theater. I'll be a guest on Promoter 101 when I attend my first Pollstar Live, and hopefully I'm alive to tell you all about it.
I'm Dan Steinberg, and welcome to episode 16 of Promoter 101. We have the reigning king and queen of backstage passes, Seth and Alma Sheck from Access Event Solutions, joining us this week.
And I'm Luke Pierce. We also have an interview with our good friend from the North, Mr. Jake Gold. But first, let's get into the news of the week.
IMP announced a $60 million venture to build a new concert venue with a flex capacity from 2,500 up to 6,000 in DC called Anthem to open in mid-October. Way to go, Seth.
The Kings of Leon have postponed a string of dates due to illness.
Bill Maher had some mechanical issues forcing him to cancel his Dallas show in the 11th hour. Better to find out the plane wasn't working on the ground than in the air, I guess. He'll have to be making that one up, I'm sure.
Marshall Tucker Band, the 1975, and Queen with Adam Lambert all announced new tours.
Ironically, the 1975 was the only band not touring of the three of them in 1975. Live Nation continues to grow their acquisitions of UK indie promoters Daniel Cuff and Peter Taylor, known as Cuff and Taylor.
Met those guys last night at a Ticketmaster event. Fantastic people. I'm very looking forward to all the mergers and acquisitions that Live Nation's putting together in this UK space.
Yeah, as an indie promoter, I'm really excited they keep buying everybody else out.
Nederlander Concerts cut an exclusive deal to book Bonnie Field in Sacramento for Spectra. It's a 12,000 cap outdoor space built as a soccer field. This is a continuing string of Nederland continuing to build out these spaces in unique partnerships. First in Austin with Paragon and Paul down there, now Sacramento up north. Dan, are you thinking they're feeling any pressure following the loss of the Greek last year?
Look, Alex, Jamie, and Mike are all great friends, and Justin. I would hate to say that they're reeling from the loss of the Greek, but man, that was such an amazing venue, and clearly they're still doing a bunch of the shows there. But yeah, I think they're looking for that crown to put back on the top of the Nederlander statue. And I don't know that this is going to be necessarily that, but it could be one of the pieces that keeps them growing. And of course, they have many other assets as far as their involvement with the Yankees and their huge Broadway assets. But the concert division certainly looking for new growth at this moment. Sad news to report from the music world, as we've lost a heavyweight this week. As the Allman Brothers' Butch Trucks passed this week. We extend our thoughts and prayers to the entire Allman Brother family.
Amplify Magazine's Dave Brooks and his wife Kristen welcomed to the world Wesley Alexander Brooks on January 18th. Congrats to Dave and Kristen.
So thrilled that that baby finally came. Those guys were a couple days late, and I know they were super anxious to start mom and dad processes. Way to go, guys. That's it for the news.
Hey, this is Wayne Forte from Entourage Talent in New York, and I'll be a guest on Promoter 101 at Pollstar Live. Come on down and see us.
Let's take a moment to break down what's going on inside the mind of Steiny as we explore some of this week's Promoter 101 tweets. When you see back by popular demand, and you know nobody demanded this.
I just love this. It's the most overused line. It's like, added by need for additional tour revenue from a single market. Third and final night, like anybody's going, man, I'm going to wait for the fourth night. Fourth show's always the best. It's just another bullshit line we use to sell more tickets. But hey, I'm guilty of it too. I love it.
Promoters at some point should also open up a greeting card business. You guys would be fantastic for writing just some bullshit amazing lines.
Oh, great things like the first annual. Anytime you see that word first annual, Luke, you know there's never going to be a second.
My favorite is the successive number of dates after someone announces a retirement tour, the first and farewell, the final farewell. All those things just crack me up when I see those people roll out. You know they're going to get off their ass and get off the couch as soon as somebody offers a check.
My favorite is there are tours that are out there that have announced their farewell and literally promote this is the last show. Well, I literally have confirmed unannounced dates for the following year.
Sounds about right. When you build the quote-unquote right offer for an act and you know they're never going to accept it.
This is a common issue. Agents always want more than you send. So do you hold back a little and send a little less so you can give them more money when they call to confirm? Or do you come straight with it? 85% of the time, I find my first offer was the correct offer for the first play in the market.
Saw a great quote last week from Howard Kaufman in one of his memoriams saying, "If the act got into points, I didn't charge you enough." Fantastic line. I'm thinking I'm going to start using that, Dan. When you get an email announcing a reunion tour of an act you've never ever heard of before.
Yeah, this was great. I saw this and literally posted it in real time, and my Facebook page blew up. It's like, if I've never actually heard of the act, is it my job to go out and figure out who they are so I can be excited they're getting back together? Or do I quickly pass? Because if I don't know who they are, I'm guessing no one else does either.
When a box office manager does not know how to break out the comps from the paid on ticket counts.
This drives me nuts. When you ask if the comps are included, and they always say, no, they're not in paid. And then, of course, it turns out a bunch of the times the comps and the pre-pulls are included, totally affecting how we market the show. I mean, that can be 5-10% of the house. And it would really affect how the show turns out if we didn't know that we still had that margin to sell. It drives me nuts. Learn how to read your goddamn ticket reports if you run a box office.
On February 1st at 9 p.m., it's the biggest party in Pollstar history. Get ready for Let's Drink 5, live at Exchange LA, 618 South Street in LA. The event of the year during Pollstar Live. The event that you cannot miss. Dancing, cocktails, DJs, and more. Let's Drink 5, February 1st, live at Exchange LA during Pollstar Live, 618 South Spring Street. Hosted by Emporium Presents Exchange LA, Access Event Solutions, Niederlander, Ticketfly, Hub International, Works Entertainment, and BYP, Bill Young Productions. RSVP now at Ticketfly.com or RSVP at EmporiumPresents.com.
Exciting news. Our good friend Jake from Rocks Off is back in the States. Moved back from London. Welcome back to America, Jake.
Thank you. Feels so good to be back in the good old USA.
I'd pronounce your last name, but it always comes out Snuffleupagus for me, and it's embarrassing when I introduce you to people. What's the correct way to pronounce it?
Come on, Dan. It's pronounced just as it's spelled. Sufnerowski.
Yeah, right. Awesome. Anyway, in tribute of you coming back to the States, we have the funniest voicemail in the history of the industry to play this week, and it's dedicated to you, buddy.
I can't wait, Dan.
Yeah, man, y'all've got to be the most pathetic, sorry excuses for a concert venue I've ever tried to get in touch with. And I've gone to quite a few from Biloxi, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia. I've even come to Tennessee to see shows. But y'all have hit the height of patheticness, man. Y'all don't answer phones and you do not return phone calls. So I'm just going to keep my money that I was going to spend meet and greet type money to see 6 a.m. I mean, hell, they're playing here with Rob Zombie and Disturbed anyway. I might not get to meet them. I might not get to greet them. But I'm still going to have my money in my checking account. Y'all are a smorgasbord of fucking dicks. That y'all are so pathetic. A smorgasbord of dicks. A bag of dicks. Y'all have reached a height of patheticness that's disgusting and just sorry. I mean, I cannot make how do y'all stay in business, man? Because you don't answer your phones, you don't return phone calls. Y'all have got to be the worst concert venue anywhere in the United States. No, hold on. In the world, y'all have got to be the worst concert venue in the world. Okay? Why do you have this damn phone thing? It don't work. I mean, it's a waste of money. A damn good waste of money. I know y'all are screening your phone calls, man, and you're the manager of these places? That's pathetic. I wouldn't have you as a manager of a fucking fast food restaurant, a gas station, or any place. Because a manager, when he hears voicemails like this, should be calling the person and trying to work things out. Because, hey, meet and greet tickets, they're not cheap tickets, man. That's the ka-ching. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know money, the thing that makes the world go round? Money talks, bullshit walks. Well, man, check ya. Later. Goodbye. Fuck off.
Wow, that just makes me feel just good all over. Anyway, that's for our good buddy Jake and for everybody else traveling to Pollstar Live right now. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get you back to our regular scheduled interviews. We were lucky enough to catch up with famed Canadian Idol judge and the first manager of Tragically Hip, Jake Gold, recorded in Aspen with special guest Jamie Loeb.
Promoter 101, we're joined in the suite with legendary manager Jake Gold. Welcome, Jake.
Steiny, welcome. I'm happy to be here. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I had to come to Aspen at midnight.
Well, you were too busy hosting the most entertaining panels of the conference.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Coming from you, that means a lot because, I've been following you for years here.
When it comes to the music industry, you're no stranger to some of the biggest acts that have come up, particularly in Canada, where you literally have broken the biggest acts in the country.
Yeah.
To the point where Canadian Idol, when it was on the show, absolutely went to you to be the judge.
Well, I think they thought they needed some credibility, and I needed money, so it kind of worked out.
Win-win.
Win-win.
You played the Simon role. Right?
No. Interestingly enough.
You were the good guy?
No, I was... What most people don't realize is that show initiated in the UK, and it was called Pop Idol, and there were 4 judges. And then it went
Simon Cowell was involved over there too, right?
Yeah, he was the Simon Cowell character, I guess you could say, since he invented it. And then it went to Australia, and then it came to America. And they originally were going to cast 4 judges, but the 4th judge wasn't going to be available for some time. So they started shooting the audition stuff with just 3. And everyone knows the story of that show is that Fox in the U.S. didn't want to do the show, but Rupert Murdoch's daughter forced them to do the show and said, this is popular in the U.K., this is popular in Australia, which is where they were from, remember, the Murdochs.
Right.
So you have to do this show. And if you saw the original season of American Idol, the auditions, they literally had a bridge table with a tablecloth over it, and they stuck a logo on the front. It was not HD. It was a summer replacement show, and the thing took off. Well, while they were shooting, we were like, we don't need the 4th guy. We'll just keep the 3. We'll save some money. So they ended up going with 3. But because that show was actually broadcast in Canada in real time, when we got the franchise in Canada, we wanted the producers, unbeknownst to us, to be honest with you, wanted to differentiate ourselves from the American show. So we went to the 4-judge format. So we had a mean guy, sort of a Simon Cowell character. We had a female singer, and we had a black urban guy. And then we had me.
A Canadian.
An American playing a Canadian.
But you've been up there for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the U.S. but moved to Canada when I was 2. But over my life, I've lived in the U.S. various different times. I lived in Miami when I was 9. I lived in L.A. from the age of 21 to 23. And then I lived in New York. I guess I was 38 to 42. Not 1938, like I was 38.
Yeah, I got
it.
Yeah.
But thanks for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Chet. The industry has you as one of the key faces in the Canadian music business. From the 80s on, you've been a player, and the different agencies that have formed, you have been hands-on in helping advise and create. It's Tag coming to Canada and how that happened. You were a key player in.
It wouldn't have existed. I will take full credit for it. And Ralph James and Jack Ross, who started the company, will to this day say that I was the one that basically said, you two are forming an agency. We'll get this guy Neil to back you, and you're in business.
Now, my understanding is you were the one that talked the Canadian government in changing the name of the airport to YYZ in Toronto, just out of tribute to Rush.
No. No, that would be nice. They called it YYZ because of the airport.
It was the other way around?
Yeah.
I just heard you were that powerful in Canada.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty powerful, but I don't know about that powerful.
But the Rush team you're involved with, but you're friends with those guys?
I know all the Rush guys. Yeah, actually, Getty went to my high school a few years ahead of me. But we all grew up in the same neighborhood. So did Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel and I grew up together.
Did you tell him to put the glove on his head?
No, but there's a comedy chain that still exists in Canada called Yuck Yucks, and a lot of the comedians started at Yuck Yucks, including Jim Carrey and Howie Mandel. And I remember seeing the first time Howie performed as a stand-up comedian was we all went down to support him because he was our buddy.
And he had hair back then.
And he was 19 years old, yeah.
He did have hair.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your biggest contribution to the Canadian music scene and in the world when you got into management and you discovered one of the biggest bands.
The Tragically Hip, yes.
Big year for those guys as far as
a big
else.
year and a kind of melancholy year at the same time, 2016. I went to 6 of the shows. It was good. I hadn't seen the guys in 13 years.
Kind of like a high school reunion almost.
It was. They were very, very gracious and grateful and welcoming with open arms, and basically...
There's a lot of big picture shit going on with those guys at this point, right? I would imagine.
Well,
it's
it's
getting pretty simple down to what matters.
Right. It was very interesting because I think that this particular tour put a lot of perspective on everybody's life.
The industry knows, and I know the Canadian world in general knows, but lead singer of the Hip is met with an outcome.
Terminal brain cancer.
Yeah, so we haven't mentioned it, and I don't want to dive too deep into it, but he has taken that in the best stride of finishing out on top and almost a farewell tour as we're doing that. We're going out our way.
Yeah, exactly. And, those
it's
guys...
a celebration in every market is how they treated that almost.
Well, in fact, that's how I felt it, too, going to the shows. I went to 2 Vancouver shows, 2 Toronto, a Hamilton show, and I was at the final show in Kingston. And I felt it like that. I felt like I was at a celebration, an opportunity to hear all this material that they'd been performing over their whole career. They included music from 7 different albums every night. And every night it changed. And they have about 12 albums. So every night they would change it up. And the only thing that would stay constant were 4 songs from the new record they were promoting. So it was pretty cool that you were seeing this catalog being performed.
I mean, and in Canada, they're basically like the Canadian version of U2. They're an arena-level band. And everyone...
multiple arena level.
And everyone knows them. In America, they never really got nearly as big. But in Canada, they are considered a national treasure.
Yeah, I think that's something we recognized when we started working with them, is that this was a band that was unabashedly Canadian when it wasn't cool to be Canadian. And it wasn't cool to sort of wear your flag on your sleeve. And Gord, the lead singer, Gord Downey, I mean, he wrote about the things he knew. So he wrote about being Canadian and Canadian life and Canadian stories and Canadian folklore. And he actually brought back a lot of stories that people forgot about our history. Like, there was a famous song that they did called 50 Mission Cap, which is about this guy, Bill Barilko. And it's the craziest story. Is the Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup in 1951. He scored the winning goal. That summer, he goes on a fishing trip and disappears. They don't find his body till 11 years later. The Leafs don't win the cup till 11 years later.
Wow.
So Gord literally got a hockey card, and on the back of the hockey card was that story. And he put all of that into a song. Well, nobody remembered that story, and it's kind of a folklore story. And no one really knew that story, but as soon as it was in the song, and the next thing you know, the Leafs are honoring this guy, Bill Barilko, and people are showing up at hip shows wearing number 5 Maple Leaf sweaters because he wore number 5. And
it resonated.
Yeah, and literally brought this guy back to life. And I remember in 2001 was the 50th anniversary of the goal. And I was living in New York, and Ken Dryden was the president of the Maple Leaf organization at the time. And the Leafs were playing New Jersey Devils in the playoffs. And Dryden was calling me because we were trying to figure out when we were going to do the presentation to Bill Barilko's sister to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the goal. And Gord had handwritten some lyrics. And we had them framed with this big frame thing and everything, and presented it to her on center ice at the Air Canada Centre to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the goal.
So there's just nothing you can do in Canada that it doesn't come back to hockey.
Yes.
It's a touching story, but that's awesome. Your best music story as a manager has to do with hockey. And
No, that wouldn't be the best. But I'm just talking about folklore, about, he wrote about this. In fact, it was just the anniversary of the day about this big explosion of this ship in the Halifax harbor, which burnt down a lot of Halifax from this explosion. And he wrote about it.
Well, it's the reason why the Tragically Hip resonated more and meant more in Canada than they did elsewhere. It's the reason why Canadians embraced them as
because
nowhere else
did.
Because they wrote about
them.
Exactly.
Yeah. They weren't like, we need to write about America or about other things to be taken seriously and to further our career. No, we're going to do what we want. And if people like it, great. If they don't, who gives a fuck?
And Canadians totally dug it.
I remember delivering that album fully, completely to Richard Palmese, who was the president of MCA Records. When we were signed to MCA in the U.S., we weren't signed to a Canadian label. And Richard Palmese said about that song, 50 Mission Cap, he goes, if it wasn't about hockey, it'd be a hit. You know who Richard Palmese is, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's in the book Hitmen, that guy.
Yes, he is.
Tragically Hip is family, but they're the past. Modern day. What keeps you busy? Adam Cohen's still in the picture?
No, I basically look after the records we worked on together, but I'm not going to be involved in his next record whenever it comes out or whenever it's done. I mean, he had a pretty tough year, too. We lost Leonard, another Canadian icon. Pretty tough year for music in general, and you know, when you think about it, right? Between Prince and
David
Leonard
Bowie,
and
Leonard
Bowie
Cohen,
and you know, Gord getting sick, and like
it's a hard year. The Grammys moratorium section is not going to be easy.
It'd be interesting to see how they treat all of that, because last year they did do a Bowie type tribute.
Well, the year started off bad right from the beginning, so there's already a good chunk of that out of the way. But not to say out of the way, because all of it's a tragedy.
I have a new act called Commandeer that I'm trying to get people interested in.
What's the act?
They're called commandeer, and that's like the animal deer. It's a take on the term commandeer.
Wordplay.
Very smart, very cool. The music will speak for itself.
Okay, and what's the genre?
It's kind of orchestral folk pop.
So falls maybe into the AAA radio world, if anything?
No, I think it can play in the modern world too. It's like of Monsters and Men meets Arcade Fire, you know?
Okay, let me ask you about this. You caught lightning once.
Mm-hmm.
As a manager, how hard is it to take on another project without being able to see, can they achieve that same level?
Listen, it's probably the hardest thing. I think that there's very few managers in the world. I can only think of one that's managed to take an act from 0 to 100 and done it more than once. Bruce Allen, BTO, Loverboy, Bryan Adams, Michael Bublé. All from 0 to like world domination. And no one else has done it. And he has a formula, and he uses it, the same formula for every single one of them.
Has he failed on any other acts in between?
Failed? No.
He's never had a bad act?
He doesn't take on many. He was working with a guy named Tom Cochran, who was in a band called Red Rider.
That's right.
Which had some really cool songs. And Bruce wanted Tom to do certain things, and Tom wouldn't do it. And then so he dropped them. But Bruce has always been like, he's got a formula, does it. A lot of the big managers in the U.S., they only take the acts on when they're already doing something, and they convince them to fire their manager, and they get in the middle and they poach. Bruce puts his head down and goes to work.
Okay, so one band right now?
No, I manage a singer-songwriter named Cassie De Silva that I just signed to Universal in the U.S., and we have a development deal for her. I manage this jazz artist on a consulting basis named Galen Weston. He's an instrumental jazz guitar player. I manage a folk duo named Scarlett Jane, who are basically both putting out solo records that I'm not involved with. It's two women. I only do the stuff they do together. Very indie.
You mentioned some YouTube artists.
No, I'm managing YouTubers.
YouTubers. Sorry.
What's the
difference? I got
difference?
that wrong.
Well, they're not artists. They're not like musicians on YouTube.
No, artists is probably a loose word.
Well, they're creators.
Yes.
So they're not talented enough to call them artists?
No, they're talented. They're just talented in a very different field.
Way.
One's a chef. I'd like to say I'm a 58-year-old millennial.
I don't know that I want to identify with a millennial, but I'm forced to at certain times.
I've always been on the cutting edge of new things and technology. You know, I had the hip online in 1994.
So you consider yourself an early adopter?
Very early adopter.
I like that term much better.
Yeah, but I relate to that stuff, you know?
Your name, you're an entity, you built one of the biggest brands in music today.
Which is a term I don't like to use, but you can use it if you want.
Thank you. How does anything qualify in your head as worth working with that could possibly live up to what you've already done? Because it's got to be at least as good or better, I would imagine, to get you excited, right?
You know, I think there's a place and time, and sometimes you just get lucky, and sometimes you hit a chord and you kind of know what it is. With this band Commandeer I'm working with, you get those early indicators when you work with an act where certain acts you work with and you really believe in them, but for some reason you're the only one. And
are you seeing this though? You think there's a chance?
I'm getting a lot of yeses.
So you could see this playing arenas?
Yeah, I see them on the big stage for sure. I see them playing clubs, and I say, this band's way too good to be playing here.
Is there a Canadian agency involved?
Nope.
How is that possible?
Because all the agencies are top down right now. So, you know, like I brought out some guys from UTA who, you know, I'm pretty close with, considering they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for me. And hey, listen, they fucking dropped one of my acts last year.
Bastards.
And they had to take me out for dinner to like apologize, and we're really sorry, but we've been told that unless they make this amount of money, we can't keep them. And so I brought out one of their top guys who loved the band and basically said, like, I just don't have time to book a band for like $500 a night. I said, that's fine. I'll do it myself, and then you'll work for 5 points. Like, that's what'll happen.
And just quickly, just in all fairness to Joel, UTA would have existed. UTA just bought the agency group, and the agency group Canada would not have existed, which is the guys you're talking about.
Right, yeah.
But UTA absolutely would have existed.
No, UTA existed long before. I'm talking about UTA in Canada,
Right.
which is who you were referring to.
Exactly.
It's very hard. Back to your original question, I think it's harder than ever to break an act. I think it's way harder now than it ever was before because everybody can make a record today.
There's so much noise.
You know, before you had to earn the right to get a record deal by going on the road and proving that you were worthy of someone investing what used to cost minimum, $100,000 to $200,000 to make a record. Now for the price of, 10 rolls of 2-inch tape, people make records. And we used to need 15 to 20 rolls just for the record, let alone the studio time and everything else.
Before I let you go, I want to tell a story about coming to Canada for the Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
So I come up to present a panel for the agency group guys, somebody from each of the audience offices, Neil Warnock, Steve Martin, but mainly it was Rails Day.
Right.
I hadn't worn a suit since my bar mitzvah. But this was black tie, and I had to wear a suit. So I bought a suit, and I didn't know how to tie a tie. And Jake is in the lobby fixing my tie because I was in my room, and I tried to get myself dressed, and I did a terrible job. I was sitting up front at tags tables. And
Right, you wanted to look good.
I was
You were
told to
being
dress
respectful.
correctly.
Right.
I was told to dress right.
Right.
So I showed up in the lobby on my way at the door. Jake is fixing my disheveled everything and rebuttoning my misbuttoned shirt and putting me together. And he's like, it was so cute because somebody walks by and like, it's so nice that even a kid in college has got his father helping him.
Did someone say that?
Yeah. And he walked by, he kissed me on my forehead. And he's like, now go to work, son, and do well. I hope you get the job. But this was particularly special because it was Ralph and Jack's weekend. And of all the people they could have asked to come up and do that, those guys picked me and said, come up and run through the history of the agency group and be part of Ralph's big weekend. And Jake, I want to thank you so much for sharing some of the great history and your mind with us for a little while. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on Promoter 101.
Hey, it's Elliot Lesko, promoter from Golden Voice in Los Angeles, and I'll be talking to Dan, Promoter 101 from Canadian Music Week on April 19th. So sharpen your skates and smell the ice. We'll be rocking on that day.
Danny Zelisko joins us to give us a sneak peek of the Pollstar Live Key Note with Shep Gordon and Alice Cooper.
Promoter 101, we've got one of the legendary promoters on the line today, Danny Zelisko. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, pleasure. How you doing?
Really excited. Pollstar Live next week. You're doing the keynote with two of the biggest names in the industry, rock legend Alice Cooper, manager extraordinaire Shep Gordon.
With these guys, anything can happen, but I assure you there'll be a lot of laughs.
Seems like there could be a lot of storytelling. Like this was thought up on a golf course.
Shep has his new book out, and he had the movie out a couple years ago, and his life is intertwined with Alice's as well as mine, but I mean, he's really the star here. This is his hour, and Alice and I are there to show our support and our love for him.
How many artists in the world would come to support their manager taking the spotlight opposed to them? That's an amazing giving artist that Alice Cooper is.
Alice has always been like that, and him and Shep are basically two people joined at the hip.
Obviously, you spend a lot of time in Hawaii, and you and Shep go back forever. Alice lives in Arizona. I imagine you spend a lot of time on the golf course with these guys, and I know you've worked with them forever. So that relationship of insight's got to be incredible.
When you're around somebody over so many years, you really do kind of feel what's going on with them without them even having to say it. It's truly an extended family. So many of the things in my life revolve around not one or the other, but both or one or the other. We've always got something going on. So it's easy for me to say these are my two closest guys in the world.
Well, it's Shep Gordon and Alice Cooper, a 47-year conversation interpreted by Danny Zelisko at Pollstar Live. It's the keynote, February 1st at 12:30. Thanks so much for being with us, Danny.
All right.
We'll see you next week at Pollstar.
Hi, this is Jack Ross from UTA. I'm going to be at CMW. Live on stage with Steiny for Promoter 101.
This week on the podcast, we welcome our friends from Access Event Solutions, Seth and Alma Sheck. The session was recorded in Aspen with special guest Nederlanders Jamie Loeb sitting in as well.
Aspen Live. It's a beautiful Wednesday night, and we're here with our friends from Access Passes, Alma and Seth.
Access Event Solutions.
Okay, one more time. It's
Access Event Solutions.
It was Access Pass at one point, though, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we rebranded.
Like 3-4 years ago.
All right, so
We've been reminding you in emails for 3 years since.
Yeah. Luke, were you in the know?
You know what? I actually did get an email, but I do try to be really conscientious about remembering those things. But I just know you guys as Seth and Alma. Come on, you know.
Jamie Loeb happens to be in the room.
Hello.
Jamie.
Did you know they rebranded?
I did know that they rebranded, but I couldn't repeat it to save my life. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, so I think you should go back to Access Passes because everybody knows and loves it. And let's be honest, there are 3 people in this room that do a shitload of business in the industry, and we didn't know anything besides it's Seth and Alma from Access Pass. So you guys might want to think about that.
Right. We're going to go back to marketing and do some...
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a client.
Something
I didn't fucking know, right? Anyway, hey, Promoter 101. We're in Aspen Live, and we're joined by Seth and Alma from formerly Access Pass.
Welcome.
Yeah, so as Access Pass and Design, we rebranded to Access Event Solutions specifically for the purpose of getting out of the box that Pass and Design kept us in. And as we started developing software and adding technology to the stuff that we were making, we wanted to broaden our scope and our horizon. And that's why we rebranded to Access Event Solutions. So now a solution can involve software by itself or passes by itself, and hopefully all of it together.
Now, you guys are just way more than passes to rock stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
We visited your shop in Reno for the first time.
You went to Reno?
I went to Reno, and I went to the shop.
Did you watch a man die? Did you shoot him?
No. I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, so you're Minnie and Mickey Mouse of the industry, and certainly of the concert pass world. You don't get one without the other. You guys are never apart. And you guys are the cutest couple in the industry. The industry loves you guys.
Thanks.
That's true.
Whether we're in London or Aspen or Vegas or San Francisco or LA or New York at a conference, you guys are hand in hand, and you guys are always hanging, and you guys do the passes for almost everyone in the industry. But it's more than just the laminates and the stickies. You guys have moved on to the next level of security with the digital chip.
That's right. Either with a barcode or RFID, we have a system called Mission Control that helps event producers manage the process of, they can send out request forms to the people that would be requesting comp tickets or passes or meals, and even down to golf carts and radios and those sorts of things. And it's all cloud-based. It can be managed from an event producer's phone, and the form comes back, submitted, they can approve or deny, the event producer can make changes on the fly, and it really allows an event producer to manage who gets to go where, when, who gets meals.
Not only did you invent that technology, the tap-it technology, right? But you invented the concept. You changed the pass because it used to be called a laminate because you laminated a piece of paper that said all access. But you changed it to a plastic melted design that can be die cut in any shape, but it's burned and melted and created in this plastic form that can't be knocked off. You created that. That was your idea.
Yeah, I can't believe you remember that. I must bitch about that a lot.
It was knocked off and stolen, and they had a pass, and it was the... Do you remember, listeners? We were in London, and the pass was the ghost from Pac-Man. And you were like, that's my design. They stole my design because literally the technology you invented.
Well, it's a process, really. You know, it's not rocket science necessarily.
It's serious industrial engineering. Like, don't
And you
discount
changed
that.
the concept. They're called laminates, but they're not anymore because you came up with something.
So we basically use the same die cutting tools that are used for different shapes for satins. And now we're die cutting printed, laminated, foiled, variable data, all that stuff we put on a pass. But we can die cut it into different shapes, so there's no clear sealed edge around it anymore. It's far more efficient. You can shape code for visual, you know, that analog triangles get in.
Triangle versus
too, right?
hexagon. I mean,
It's about the same thickness.
Yeah. But they say it's way better than the old passes. So the bands love the technology, the stickies, you guys get creative, the foil, the different die cuts, the creative images.
Well, a couple of things a lot of people don't know about us probably, and that's that with our satin material, we have that made specifically for our big digital presses.
This is seriously a marvel in industrial engineering. If you're ever in Reno, you need to go to their shop.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're welcome to come visit.
Anyone
and take
can
a tour.
come. You don't just have to be like the Works Media Empire.
Let me know first so we can pencil you in.
If you haven't seen Alma, you have to see the ads for the company. company. She is not only an owner, she is the model.
I used to be, not anymore.
Anyway, yeah, so the satin's designed to make the colors super vibrant. One thing that's very important is when anybody wants to write on a satin pass with a Sharpie, a date, or some sort of code. In the old days and with our competitors' passes, that would bleed and become illegible. With our satin, that doesn't happen. It's just like writing on a piece of paper.
Shit, I didn't even know you had a competitor anymore.
Well, to think that we don't have competitors now that we are a pass company.
I mean, you exclusively handle all the Emporium Presents products.
We do.
And Works Entertainment. And
apparently Niederlander.
I go to you.
Thank you very much.
Seth and Alma got some love in the room.
Yeah.
Can we talk about one of my favorite things that you guys do at Access Pass Design, which is stick candy in the box of everything that you...
I know, road managers and my staff fucking love you guys.
I don't get candy.
Do you have an assistant who maybe opens the box before you get it?
Luke made a complaint about not getting
on a
candy
rush
once.
job, I've actually sent milk and cookies.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
I'll speak this about this service. I have fiend for Laffy Taffy, and you guys changed out your candy composition in your passes. I noticed
He
it
was
very
not
recently.
happy.
And I was not particularly pleased about that. And about 4 days later, with a nice little note from Alma, was 3 bags of Laffy Taffy to the works office in Beverly
I'm
Hills.
sorry.
Now we owe Jamie because
Just like excellent passes delivered in the time frame that I need them delivered in. That's all I really need.
And that too, you know, I'm notorious for ordering passes late or no.
Luke, what do you do? What do you order in advance, Luke?
Tour buses? I don't know. And like it's a limited list of things.
we should talk about that for just a second as far as the company goes. We've got a lot of redundancy throughout the shop for that reason in particular.
Right.
We want to be famous for the fast turn. So if one machine gets broken or we're waiting for parts or whatever, we can put it on a second and sometimes a third machine. So no matter what, we never say no.
The
We can
one
always
is none,
deliver.
2 is 1.
Yeah, the point is that we never leave anybody hanging. We always get it done, even if it's a day or two turnaround time.
Not intentionally. We do everything
mistakes
in
happen.
our power
Sure.
to make sure.
Absolutely. So, personal question. We'll just talk about this for a second. What's it like every day?
Well, what's it like? We've been doing it now for at least 5 years, and we love it. We're best friends, and we love what we do. We're passionate about growing our company, and we love building relationships and meeting new people. We're in the same office. We sit across from each other. I mean, we have our challenges, but we get over it.
It was really interesting to see your desks are literally right across from each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys have been married how long now?
3.5 years. We've been together 6 years. We talk about this all the time, you know, because of the amount of time that we spend together is like probably double or triple the amount of time that we've actually been together.
But
Because
Seth once told me that he hates sleeping because that's less time he gets to spend with Alma.
That's not true. He is the princess in our relationship. He loves to sleep. If he doesn't sleep more than 7 hours, or
I'm a
at least
sleep
7
whore.
hours, he's an angry bitch.
Yeah, I get grumpy.
I'm like 6 hours. I'm
So
out the
Jamie,
door.
as a concert promoter, what do you order from Access? And it's funny because I didn't think about it. We have our stickies that they did, but what does Niederlander use that you call them for on a regular basis? Because it sounds like you do a good amount of business with them.
We've done business with them on a yearly basis for our subscription series. We have about 1,500 subscribers, and they all get laminates. And we order those from Access Pass, and I usually order them, and I'm like, "Hi, I need these in a week."
Solutions.
Thanks, Jamie.
They're gonna have to rebrand. You guys
Just
really
call
do
it.
need to rebrand.
Just say access. We've trademarked the word access.
Are you serious?
Serious.
Really?
Yeah.
The word access.
You trademarked
How did you
Access.
Within the category
of entertainment?
Okay,
Yeah.
within the category.
I gotta
Okay.
talk to your patent attorney. Whoever
Yeah.
this is.
Right?
He's a badass.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
But
did it.
I'm sorry.
Concerts.com.
It's kind of like Irvine Meadows. It will always be Irvine Meadows, even when it was Verizon Wireless. It's still Irvine Meadows. It just is the way it is.
I thought it was Irving Meadows.
Well,
Deer Creek in
for
Indianapolis.
some, maybe.
So you guys have the market cornered. Pollstar uses you. Our party, most importantly, uses you. And it seems like all of the major acts at this point. I mean, who are some of the clients that are running around the country that you can claim at the moment?
Well, let's see. We've got Guns N' Roses, Justin Bieber,
21 Pilots.
21 Pilots, Puff Daddy's Bad Boy Tour. They actually took our software on the road. They loved that. And they
Can we get
brought
Ryan?
new school technology to the old school tour, which is very cool. Yeah, rave reviews on that. Yeah, so for credentials, that's kind of our shtick, you know.
The
And
Pollstar, for their event, the biggest conference in our industry, uses your pass.
Yes, and technology.
So
So
use Missing Control?
Well, we make integrated credentials for them, and that's used to tap your pass to vote on a poster. It's used for their meal redemption or catering. They use
So they used an older version of our mission control
Yeah.
access.
Because you guys are continuing to build and improve.
Of course.
And do you consider yourself
to.
more of a hardware versus a software company, like Mission Control software side of
So
things?
this is exactly why we changed the name and rebranded, because Pass and Design really is just graphic design and printing of passes. But because we're Event Solutions with software, somebody could and has just bought software and went somewhere else for passes, and vice versa. But our goal is to offer all of it and have somebody use the passes and the software
In
whole.
tandem. It's vertically supplying all those things top to bottom as a solution for your security needs for your software, but like physically having a pass out there.
And the
It's a hardware
goal
thing.
is to play well with others. So we've already got an integration. Eventbrite has announced global partnership with Access.
Oh, what
so
how
we're
that
integrated with them. So from GA all the way to the God Pass.
The team thing to me like hit home very hard. Just seeing you guys in the office and the way that you work together. There's chemistry. There's a lot of things that go into that too. So there's got to be a beginning to that somewhere, right? You know.
Can you tell us about the
Seth.
first kiss?
Yes, it took probably a few weeks, right? I don't know
At
how many.
least it felt like years.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait.
And he was very polite and he asked for permission. I was like, whoa. He's like, okay, he invited me to watch the stars, right, at this middle school close to his house.
On the grass.
And we're like, okay, wink, wink. We're going to watch stars. But we had not kissed or anything. And we had been going out we went out a few times, right? We even went shopping.
Well, I don't know. I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, I can't wait anymore.
Yeah, he said, I
need to
can't
kiss
wait
you.
anymore.
And she said, okay.
I said, okay.
And the rest is history.
So it was very passionate and intense.
I was courting her.
Yeah, he was.
That's an old-fashioned statement right there.
We have gone back to that place
Yeah,
several
we went
times to
back.
relive the moment.
There is something to the Seth and Alma story that is more endearing once you get to know the two of you and what you guys have created together, and that stems from some place of just loving one another, which
Yeah,
is cool.
you're
that you
beloved in
guys-
the industry, and
You
there's
know.
something to be said that you're mascots of the industry in general. Like, you were the couple
Yeah.
that everybody thinks about in the industry is the first couple of rock and roll.
Thank you.
It's kind of cool that we can
Yeah.
be away from the office. Like, there are new employees I haven't met yet because it's been that long since I've been to the shop. And it's nice that we can be out doing the important stuff, this right now, hanging out with friends and, building new relationships and
Getting shit
hanging
done.
with existing
Yeah.
relationships and friends. And the shop goes and it runs. And sometimes we go back and we're like, whoa, we're doing, I didn't know Justin Bieber was in the house. Cool.
Well, I'll just say that Seth focuses more definitely on the outside, and I'm more in the inside. I'm very in tune as to what's going on as far as hiring, interviewing. That's what I do. And then we're out here and we are, building relationships and having fun and, loving life.
I figure if a lot of people are like, I don't know, I could never work with my wife or my husband. I couldn't spend that much time with them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, in a perfect world, in a perfect world, wouldn't you, if you could just order the perfect life on Amazon, wouldn't you pick, your spouse and build a business and go travel and hang out with friends and be together with your friends and, get paid to do it? It's so fun. It's so dreamy.
We truly feel like we're going to figure out how to do it the way we want to do it. Just have our cake and eat it too.
You guys have built a great business, and I think everyone in the industry respects the shit out of the technology you guys have built, which is why you're the forefront of the industry and respected so much, and everybody seems to love you.
You're very kind. I love you too. We got a lot of good feedback though from Fest Forums. We had our booth. Didn't show up at Fest Forums, but it did show up at X Live. Thank God. And people actually stopped by for demos. Golden Voice was there, Insomniac was there. We had a lot of good positive feedback, which is validating considering all the profit that the core business makes has been pumped into the development of this technology for 5 years, and it's in the millions of dollars now. We could be living in a much nicer...
The profit's in the millions?
Yeah.
You're a millionaire?
We're giving up our
No, they're
dream home.
reinvesting it into
software.
Engineers aren't cheap.
So
man.
when you sell the
Living in a
company to
nicer house.
AEG or Live Nation, you'll be a millionaire.
Yes.
Great. Aspen Live After Dark, I want to thank you guys both so much for being here.
Seth and Alma Sheck, you can find them at Access Event Solutions. You can find Seth and Alma at
AccessEventSolutions.com or Seth at AccessEventSolutions.com.
They are such an incredible couple. Love the story of their first kiss. I cannot wait to see them next week at Pollstar.
They are super cute.
Hi, this is Steve Martin, not the actor, not the PR guy, the agent from APA. I'll be on Dan Steinberg's Perpendicular, fantastic psychedelic Promoter 101 podcast from South by Southwest, Thursday, March 16th.
In a special segment here on the podcast, we caught up with our friend Ruth Gonzalez from 12 South Entertainment, who joined us to end this podcast. Here's Ruth.
Joining us today on Promoter 101, an old friend, Ruth Gonzalez. How you doing, Ruth?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much. We are old friends, aren't we?
Yeah. You started in L.A. at CAA. I imagine there was an education before that. Where'd you start?
I actually started in Atlanta. I started with a friend named Rich Levy, and we had a small boutique agency out of his home. So when he left to work at Live Nation, I turned around and headed towards L.A. and was lucky enough to walk in the door at CAA and spend 10 years there.
You got picked up from CAA there? How did that happen?
Brian Greenbaum. And I started out as Brian's assistant and worked my way up from there. I worked for Mitch Rose for a little bit as well, and then got promoted when they needed someone to work the West Coast territory.
Greenbaum, you can't ask for a better mentor than that. I mean, you're talking about Willie Nelson and Paul Simon and Black Sabbath. I mean, the list goes on. That guy's got a great running track record. Plus, he came from Andy Summers' desk back in his early days. So talk about some history.
Yeah, Andy Summers, another great guy. When I left CAA, I started doing a little bit of day-to-day management. Things transpired, led to me doing a little bit of sponsorship and sponsorship activation. And I've been on my own for a while now.
But you're settled back in Nashville now.
I will always consider Nashville home. I always want to have roots here. That being said, I love going back and forth between LA and New York. I don't mind going out on the road for work as well. I'm open to any kind of opportunity and wherever it might land.
And that brings us to our current conversation. You're actually looking for a gig right now. You're figuring out what's out there, right?
Transitioning a little bit into day-to-day management, I just really enjoy and feel most confident in the touring aspect of an artist's career. I would love to be a director of touring operations within a management company. I think that's kind of my focus. I like VIP activation services and ticketing and just basically customer service on an artist side.
Every time I hear the word activation, I think about douches doing bottle service in Vegas. Those guys that like jump off of an Abercrombie and Fitch ad with no shirt where you just want to be like, you're using your parents' credit card to buy fucking bottle service at a pool at a Vegas casino, you jackass. If I've offended any of our listeners, I apologize.
It's funny that you said that, because that's actually a lot of people don't know specifically what that word might be. From a sponsorship side, what it basically meant is sponsor putting their brand and what that could look like in the experience in front of an artist, whether it be the signage, the pre-sale tickets, the meet and greet, just anything on the road that kind of activated what they were trying to do in terms of return on their investment on a tour. But for me, in terms of activation, would like to do is work on that from an artist side. How do we make a better experience overall, not for the artists only, but for the fans as well? What are they getting from the artist?
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be the douche kid from Abercrombie and Fitch that's at the pool party. It can actually be something that's positive for the fans that are out there that come into the show.
In my experience, and there are people doing activation. Obviously, Live Nation's doing a great job with VIP ticketing.
Let's digress from the marketing conversation and get back to getting you a job, which is why you're here today. So you're looking for something involved with touring, whether it's at a management company overseeing tour development or on the road running the tour. Is that the vibe I'm getting here?
I definitely am an operations and logistic person. So yes, I would love to do it within a management company.
If you want an interview with Ruth Gonzalez, how do they find you?
They can find me at Ruth 12 South. That's Ruth and number 12. SOUTH at me.com.
Perfect timing. If you're going to be at Pollstar next week and you want a meeting with Ruth, email her.
Thanks so much. I'll look forward to seeing you at Pollstar. It'll be a lot of fun.
That's it for episode 16 of Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 World Tour podcast of live recordings continue.
This Wednesday, be sure to register for the 5th edition of Let's Drink, the not-to-be-missed Pollstar party this February 1st at Exchange, LA. Let's Drink is hosted by Nederlander Concerts, Ticketfly, Access Event Solutions, Bill Young Productions, Hub International, and of course, Works Entertainment and Emporium Presents. We'll post a note on our Facebook page with a link to register via Ticketfly. And just in, the official DJ lineup was just announced. Starting off the night, we're going to have ICM's Rick Farrell, Andy Golden Voice, the Roxy's Nick Adler, and closing off the party is Faculty Management's Ryan Kravanka. Can't wait to see you this Wednesday at Let's Drink.
Thursday morning, bright and early at 9:30, February 2nd, while you still have your hangover, we'll be recording Promoter 101 at Pollstar Live with special guests Charlie Levy and Entourage talents Wayne Forte. You can be sure that we're going to have a couple surprises up our sleeves. If you come to Pollstar, come see us at 9:30 at the JW Marriott. We'll be in Diamond 3. Please come and support us. If you're in town, we'd love to see you there.
Please bring Dan and I IVs. We will both need them at that point. Well, the Yanks are coming. We'll be at ILMC, and you have 2 chances to see us. First, Friday, March 8th at 2 p.m., the YouTubers. Money and Millennial panels moderated by Steiny at ILMC. Then on March 9th at noon to 2 p.m., Promoter 101 will be recording the podcast for the first time from Europe at the Royal Garden Hotel in jolly old London town.
March 16th, South by Southwest will bring us to Austin with Head of Music of APA, Steve Martin.
April 19th, we're going to be at Canadian Music Week. We've got Golden Voice's Elliot Lefko and UTA's Jack Ross. And we're going to introduce you to our favorite Canadian game, Dead, Donut, or Canadian.
I love that game. If you have thoughts about the podcast, or there's somebody you want us to interview, we want to hear about it. Send us an email to your ideas of Steiny at promoter101.net.
And you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at W. Luke Pierce, and Dan is at The Jew. And be sure to subscribe to Promoter 101 wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you like what we're doing, please tell your friends about it or drop us a review. We want to know what you think.
And if you enjoy it, please let us know. We love your feedback. Or just buy us a drink at Pollstar Live this week. It's not like anybody's paying us for this anyway. So I'm Dan Steinberg for my friend Luke Pierce. We'll see you at the bar.
It's Promoter 101. It's Steiny, who's God's favorite son.